right, it's 5 o'clock. So we will begin our meeting of the Douglas Library Board of Trustees. We're going to start with a presentation from Mary, and hopefully she can answer questions that we may have. So take it over, Mary.
Hey. Well, thank you everyone for being here. It was a pleasure to work on this project. You have such a charming library, and every library is so different, and every community is so different. And so we try really hard to get what you want and need within the parameters that we have to work with, in terms of building codes and grants and things like that too. So one of the things I like to say is that this building program is about the library needs, not about the existing building. So it should not be judgmental. It should not prescribe renovation, addition renovation, or new construction. It just should lay out the parameters. And the other thing is, one of the other questions I get is, if we already have X number of seats now, why do we need a bigger space to have the same number of seats or close to the same number of seats? And the answer is that you need room to move around, to push your chairs in and out and things like that. That's the simple thing. Now, additional space, of course, is things that you might want to put in, the size of a meeting room, and whether you want to add conference rooms and things like that. The list of the way I label the rooms, you can label them anything you want. It just seems I tried to use the labels that you already have for some of the spaces, and for other spaces, use labels that just differentiate in a manner that everybody can know that we're talking about different spaces. For example, calling something the trustees room, it doesn't mean it's dedicated to the trustees. It just means it's a meeting room that is large enough to accommodate your board of trustees plus your staff members who might want to attend. That's kind of the thinking behind it, things like that. So a lot of help from Justin, a great deal of help from Justin, and conversation, which was wonderful. And the other staff members were great too. Just everybody they're very, very cognizant of budget and things like that. But this is about defining the needs and the requirements. And then you'll get the architect who can see what he or she can do about making it happen however it works. I do want to say, don't forget, and I know Justin's working on it, don't forget about making sure of the ownership of the building and the definition of the ownership and so on, finding heirs or however that works too, because that will be, you'll have to show them in the grant proposal. You'll have to demonstrate that. So you have time, plenty of time to do that. So with that, is there any, you all have questions? Ellie and Dawn sent me comments, and I appreciate them. Thank you very much. They were, particularly Ellie, some of the history that you added in was things I hadn't found out about before either. So yes, thank you. So questions, comments?
I thought it was very well written. I think I really like the use.
Sorry, I can't hear. I didn't hear what you said. You froze.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think it was very well written. I like how, wait a minute, let me try this. Are you hearing me now?
Yep.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right.
Hi.
My one, I like the
No,
use.
you're all frozen.
Uh-oh.
No.
I'm not getting a good connection. Let me mute. And you have a phone number to call in or no, Justin?
Oh, yeah, I can send that to you.
Can't even,
Really? Ugh.
yeah. I can't hear anybody. Everybody's frozen. I don't know if you can even hear me.
Yeah, we hear
Yes.
you, but not, and I hear everybody else.
Yes.
Oh,
Mhm. Yeah, it's just you.
oh, nope. I hear nothing.
All
So
right.
I can
Let
try
me-
muting myself here and calling in on the phone if there's a phone
Yeah.
number.
There is. It's in the email.
I put it in the
sent.
chat, Justin,
And I
but
should be
Oh,
able to
thank
hear
you.
you.
Here's the email. Do you want the phone
In a
number?
minute.
All right, there we go. Thanks, Don.
Do you want to text it to me, Justin?
It's in the chat.
look at the chat.
Hold on. Okay.
I can tell you the phone number.
She can't hear you.
Oh, you better text it to
Yeah.
me because I'm not hearing you.
Okay.
Hmm?
I will text it to her.
Oh, wait a minute.
It's in the
Lee,
chat.
did you just put it up?
Yes. Thumbs up.
I'm going to leave and rejoin. How's that? Let's try that.
Okay.
Okay, but I texted her the number as well.
Okay.
Oh, well, this is
I
a fun
brought it up
start.
on chat, so it should be up. She should be okay.
Well, I can get something else out of the way while she's rejoining.
Okay.
Sure.
We had a patron pass away 2 years ago, and his living trust has finally gotten sorted out. So today I deposited $42,500 into the interest-bearing building account.
Well, that's nice. That's good news out of bad. Wow.
Yeah.
What?
Well, what
Thank
was the
you.
person's name?
His name was Paul Herman. He donated the horses to the Friends of the Library auction the first year
Right.
that we did it. We read a lot of the same books. He read sci-fi, I read sci-fi, and whenever I picked up the horses from his house, found out we played the same computer games too. So we kind of bonded, and
Wow.
what
was
Yeah, he
the,
came in the library a lot.
he did. He was a
Lot.
great patron. But
What
he
was the
passed
amount?
away in 2022, and he left the library. We were a pretty significant percentage of his living trust.
Wow.
Nice.
Oh, that's amazing.
How much was it, Justin?
5% of the trust we got. It's 42,500. There will be another disbursement later because they've withheld 2.5% of the value, just to in case there's unanticipated fees and everything. But that's the bulk of it.
Wow.
So I've already updated the sign out front and the website, but it didn't make it into this month's meeting packet because it just happened today.
That's great.
Wow.
Okay, I'm here.
Very generous.
All right, welcome back, Mary.
Sorry. All right. Can you hear me?
Yep,
Yes.
Yes.
we're good.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, that's the question.
Hello.
Oh, no.
Hello.
Can you hear us, Mary?
Hello.
Mary, are you on mute?
Can you hear? All
We
right.
can-
Wait one second.
There we go. Can
I'm
you hear
on.
now?
So I'm on mute on the screen, but I'm on the phone.
Okay, we hear
This
you.
is me right here.
Yeah,
I'm the other phone number,
Yeah, we hear you. Do you hear us?
which is, wait a minute. Nope,
not here.
it's there.
She's not hearing us.
All
right.
I unmuted.
I unmuted.
See if that works. Did that work?
Did that work?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you hear us?
Good.
Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. Yay, finally.
All right.
Okay, so now that you
Where
can
were
hear
we?
us, do people have questions for Mary, or how
Yes,
do we want to start this off?
Go ahead.
I was saying how I liked the way of the flexibility of the.
Hello?
Hello.
Oh God, can you hear me, Mary?
Hello?
Hello. Hello.
Oh don't know.
Is it not working again?
Hello?
Hello?
Okay, I
Okay,
can hear. The
The
phone
phone
is
is
up.
up.
Okay,
Okay,
the phone is
is
fading in and out.
You're all frozen on the screen, but just talk and I'll
tell
tell you if I can hear you.
Hello?
We're talking. Can you hear us?
No.
I just heard you say, can you hear us, Justin?
Okay. So, I mean, it seems to be just cutting in and out. So I don't know what's going on. Everyone else seems okay. So it's just Spencer.
Oh, go Spencer.
Okay, Danielle, go.
What can I?
All right,
Yeah.
I like the flexible use of space. I'm just wondering about how often do chairs need to be moved around? And is the staff behind this? Is the staff ready to be involved in moving chairs around?
So the flexible use of space isn't meant for a day-to-day thing. It's meant for the big picture. So that you set up something now, and over time, if you decide to change the way that you want things arranged, that you have the ability to do that. But it's not meant to be all day, every day.
Okay.
It's meant to be, just something that's a convenience. Yep.
Okay, I understand.
That if you had, for example, up, your magazine rack and couple chairs, and suddenly magazines go away and you needed to put the rack somewhere else, put something else on it, move the chair somewhere, that you'd be able to do that
Okay.
in the next 4, 5, 6 years, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, we're pretty used to flexible space.
Yeah.
This comes back from many, many years during my working career of shared space.
Okay, I heard the words flexible space. I heard the words flexible space, that's all.
That's okay.
Okay, the
Okay.
question has been answered. So should we try another one? Or
Hurry up.
Sorry, you guys. Oh.
My question was, if you can hear me, can you picture this happening in our building with an addition?
Sorry, not getting it. Yep.
can you picture
Oh.
this
How about if you-
happening in our building with an addition? Or do you think this is beyond the scope, I think, of what our current property can offer?
Exactly.
I truly don't know, because I know nothing about the structural elements of your building. I mean, you do have that attic space. I've seen basement spaces repurposed. I know that your lot goes back fairly far, but somebody mentioned wetlands and things like that. So I would have no way of knowing. You need a professional to come in and be able to tell you about the structural integrity of the building, the possibilities and all those kinds of things. If it were a flat lot of land, who knows? Again, too many variables.
Yeah.
Other questions? Comments?
We're just asking all of our questions, Danielle, regarding the building project.
Yes, if you have questions for Mary.
Okay. I guess for me, I don't know if this is a question exactly, but more of a discussion about how big it's proposed to be, like 3 times the size of what we have now.
Okay, I can see lips moving and I can hear nothing. Yep.
It's going to be hard to talk about.
Do you want to, this is, I don't know, do you want to try typing it in the chat?
Yeah.
Where is this chat?
Can you hear, Justin, can she hear
At the
you?
bottom.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
can you hear me better than anyone else? Or
I don't think she's hearing now. She
no, I don't think you
was.
heard that.
Or Justin, do you want me to just, sorry. Justin, do you want me to just call or do you want to call me and we'll just and you can relay everything?
We're going to relay in chat. We're going to start typing and let you talk.
Oh, okay. There's one in the chat. Let me see.
So Dawn's
Trying to
asking-
understand the suggestion for the size of the space. Where can we build out? Do we need 3 times the size? Yeah, Dawn, sure. So 3 times the size it's a little more. It's not quite 3 times because you still have your attic space, which you use for a ton of storage plus the little loft area. So it's probably 2.5 times size. If you want to remove some of the, the meeting room or something like that, would take out chunks of space. But in terms of size, space for the collection, space for seating, space for staff, those are pretty much what they need to be. So the adjusted spaces would have to do with meeting type spaces and things that you don't already have.
I put a note in the chat, and for the rest of us who can hear, this is just my perception, is that there were a lot of, different meeting. And
several additional rooms, like some of this is covered in the town hall building. So the question is having programs on site versus go off for programs. And I think the field, having programs on site brings people into the building. For very large programs, you go off site. You don't need a 100-person auditorium or anything like that. But that would be the rationale. I know it's been a struggle for you folks, sometimes not being able to even have your trustees meetings in the library because of handicapped access and things like that. So that's what goes in the pot.
Okay.
If people have questions or comments, you can type them into the chat.
Thanks. That's working. I'm seeing them. So this question from Ella, what are the required things that need to be done? Well, hands down, handicapped accessibility, which includes not only access to the building, but elevators, a sufficient amount of space between seats and stacks and things like that. For example, in the front, in the meeting room where you have the big table and benches, you can't really get a wheelchair in there. You all know the problem with the bathrooms. And so that's the most critical thing that that you're lacking right now. And I mean, not having meeting space and not having sufficient space for chairs and tables and things like that is pretty high up there too. But your real critical piece is handicap accessibility. Kate, to everyone, do you have a sense whether we could have a competitive grant application? The only thing I can say to you is, because you have no accessibility at all, there is a point system. Justin, do you have a copy? You might have a copy of that.
I haven't looked at it extensively. It's in the, I think it's in their LibGuide.
Right.
Yeah, and you can look at that and see, how you think you stack up. But I don't even know how many people will wind up going for the grants, so I don't have a good handle. As I said, the only thing I can say is you don't have any handicapped access, and so I suspect that will help with your points. That's a pure guess.
Yep.
What would you
Questions?
recommend as a next step now that this building program is completed?
So the next steps are laid out in the Amplifund website. There aren't very many deadlines. I had happened to talk to Andrea the other day just to see if, you know, there was something particular, but absolutely get that title cleared up, or that ownership or whatever, get that cleared up. And then we can look at Justin, if you want, we can look at the list of things that need to be ticked off. There are some, there's just a list of things that you need to submit with the grant, and we can look at, you know, you and I can talk about that next, if you want. So.
Okay, yeah, the point system. Am I sharing my whole screen, or am I just sharing, or am I sharing anything right now?
Yeah, you, nope, you're just you.
Okay. When I find this, I will bring it back up.
Thank you, Kate. I appreciate that. Your comment. I know that you have to, there's some documentation that they want, your EQ and things like that, which I would say keep an eye on it. The state, we just don't know when the state is going to update any of their things on their website. So some of the things that are there, everything now is pretty much based on the 2020 census, but some of their analysis is based on 20, 21, and 22. I mean, 20 and 21, not even 22. So I would keep, you know, just keep an eye on the particular things that the state, that are going to be, the documents that are going to be required with the grant, to, you know, to see that you have the latest and greatest. But MBLC will, they get it. They know that you cannot use what you have. And if the state isn't putting it up, there you go.
Here are the bullet points, which will determine the grant. Documentation of the need for the project, which, you know, I think, you know, we clearly need the ADA compliance. The need factor determined by the EQV. That doesn't put us in an advantaged position, but it's not terrible. Evidence that we're able to support the proposed program of library service.
Yeah, it says the 2023 state EQV figures and DOR figures. I don't know that your town has finished getting them all in. They're not quite, they're just barely due now.
I don't expect there to be a huge change from the previous numbers, though.
It's good on the evidence that your maintenance has been fine, because you've done an awful lot.
Mm-hmm. We have done a lot.
Work on keeping the building up, you know.
I guess demonstrated community readiness and support for a major capital project.
Yeah, I'm caught on that. Yeah.
But I mean, how do you really even evaluate that before you have a?
Okay, I missed that, but.
Are we looking at, Justin, are we looking at
what, for the demonstrated community readiness and support for a major capital project?
Yeah, how is that even
a couple of things. Are there any other big capital projects out right now? There any like smack dab on season? And then, you know, talk to the folks in your finance folks in town. You you have the surveys that said people are very supportive in the surveys.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not really, that's community readiness.
I
And then
think that
financial capacity.
that's it. That's the whole thing, I think. Because I think we have a handle on, well, we could have a handle on most of the other things.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing, and I don't know.
Sorry, I'm missing everything, Danielle.
That's
Mhm.
okay. I'm kind of, looks like I'm not really, it's like delayed or something. Mm.
My phone hung up. I don't know if you can hear me. My phone hung up.
Yep, I can hear you.
We can hear you.
Yeah.
Can you hear us? I'm going to
I
assume no.
This
I
is
have a-
crazy.
have a question for the rest of us that we really, maybe we don't need Mary for exactly at the moment, but my original question about bigger space, do we know, like, is the only way to go up? We have a small parking lot. Can we go to the left? There's something on the right of the building.
Dawn, I'm gonna just cut in right here.
Yeah,
This is a conversation that we don't have to tie Mary up with, okay?
yeah. Well, I
Right.
just thought we were having issues, so we were waiting.
No, we're basically looking at, questions and comments on the report that she has so far.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah. Does anyone else have anything we wanted to type into chat to ask her, or should we move on?
Um,
move on.
All right. I will say in chat, thanks, Mary. We'll
Wait, I don't know if you can hear me. My screen is totally frozen. Justin, your screen is all, oh, okay.
All right.
It's all messed up.
Yeah, I don't know if you can hear us, Mary, but thank you.
I got missed.
All right. Well,
Ah,
here's the agenda.
All right, so we'll move on to,
Okay.
all right. We have a quorum. Hopefully everyone's had a chance to read the minutes from August 22nd. I will entertain a motion to accept the minutes as written.
So moved.
Second,
Second,
any questions, comments, corrections,
Wasn't there.
etc.? Hearing none, all those in favor of accepting the minutes as written? Say aye.
aye.
Hi.
Opposed? Hearing none, minutes have been approved unanimously. And we can move on to the next item on the agenda.
So this is a new format for finance report. Ellie wanted some accounts moved closer to each other. And I thought it would be a good opportunity to try to create reports using our system software that I can just extract and copy and paste from and not have to transcribe a whole bunch of things into a Word doc, because I make mistakes when I transcribe stuff, like in last month's finance report, whenever I didn't accrue interest. So these are from the finance report. I did not type these into the Word document creating the PDF. These are copied and pasted. So like this report shows the budget, for our total personnel line, along with the actual that we have spent to date. And then the subline items, and then the same with the general fund, the operational expenses. It shows our total budgeted amount and what we've spent to date. And then the trustee account statuses are, they don't have budgets, so I can't generate a report like this. I can generate an account status report, which shows us where money came from, what we've made in interest, or where it shows us, where the equity came in. So opening balance is what, the account started at the beginning of the year. And then anything that we've spent or earned will appear beneath that for a total money in. And then if there's expenses, there'll be a total money out. And then the difference is basically the account balance right now, or yesterday morning when I ran the report. And the building donations with interest, and the trust fund, which are all of the accounts which are invested with Bartholomew, are up at the top. RS Douglas is next. It's also invested with Bartholomew, but it doesn't have anything to do with building, so I moved it down. And there's a note in there that 10,000 of it is not expendable. And then there's the library grants, which is the only one I think with expenses. Oh, that's a lie. Carrick has expenses because we've been using it to pay for the music and movement. I have the note for what's reserved for the capital campaign, and then regular donations, revolving account, that's fines, and then the Carrick fund. So I don't know. Do you like that better, or do you like the old way better?
I think I like it.
I like it, yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, it looks good.
Me.
Okay,
That makes sense.
if it makes everybody happy, it makes me happy because it's actually a lot easier to put together.
So you're
Good.
just, so that, this comes anyway to you from the town hall. Okay.
No, the town hall doesn't share any of their records with me. I have to track everything independently. I use which is free accounting software. I mean, it's like cheap Quicken. And then I have to reconcile expenses and revenues with Jean after they do things in Munis. And then she has to reconcile them with Cheryl, who actually pays the bills. It's a fun process.
Sounds like it.
But I'm not privy to their information by design because it forces a reconciliation at the end of the year.
Okay.
Can I ask you a question? On the
No.
library. Come on, please. On the library grant stuff, remind me of, I won't ask you a question that. Remind me of what these the expenses that came out already are. I think I might know a couple of them, but the ones with just tell me.
Licenses and subscriptions is the overdrive cost per circs. Other property related expenses for $500. That's Joe trimming the hedges.
Okay, yeah.
Very nice
Oh,
job.
so Joe trimmed the hedges.
Yep.
Very nice job.
Looks good.
Yeah.
It looks good.
Other supplies has been toys, the 1,000 books before kindergarten books for distribution throughout that program, and some, I think that's it. So story walk books. And then repairs and maintenance was installing the electrical outlets.
Okay, and so all the expenses are just for this year since July 1st.
Yep.
Okay, gotcha.
Thank you, Justin, for clarifying that.
You're welcome. That's my job.
Good job.
Any other questions on finance?
We're good.
You want me to move to director's report?
Yes, please.
Yes. I'll get up. Circulation in August was ridiculously good. 4,364 total use. We have not seen numbers like that since 2016.
Very
Back
nice.
we had that in 2015, I don't know if y'all remember this, but Anne left me the entire year's budget of books, almost. Like, she hadn't spent any of the circulating materials budget, so I spent like $50,000 on books and DVDs in June of 2015, which drove circulation numbers up a lot for 2015 and 16, and then they kind of started flagging as things kind of got back to normal. But 2023 circulation has been good every month so far. The audios are, mostly the free stuff that we've cataloged, that we've gotten from, Marlboro. Periodical circulation is actually doing better than I was expecting to. Video is good, but books still continue to drive it, as well as digital loans, Libby, and all that jazz.
I wonder if the weather has had anything to do with it. I know
we did have like the longest pull list ever on Monday morning. It was comparable to like a long holiday weekend pull list. You come in the morning, you find out who's placed holds on what, and you got to find the stuff. Either put it in delivery or put it on the hold shelf.
I gotta check on my hold.
Our best theory was that the weather sucked so bad over the weekend that it drove everybody to place holds on books, because it was like a 60 some odd list.
It's been awful. I feel like I'm growing mushrooms on my back.
Good reading weather though, so good for us.
Yep.
Is there a
Yes,
way to separate? I don't know if anybody else is interested in this, but the digital loans, is that just for ebooks and e-audio, or is there other stuff in there besides?
they're
It's
separated out, aren't
ebooks,
they?
audio, and the digital canopy.
Canopy?
Just lump them all into one thing. I've got a spreadsheet that actually keeps everything out individually that I can send to you guys if you're interested in.
Yeah,
and then for the purposes of these reports, I condense it down into a list.
Exactly.
That's
That
not a
would be
spreadsheet.
good. That would be good if you could tease that out and send it out to us just for our information.
Yeah, I'm happy to.
All right.
It's actually one of my favorite parts of the job, is looking at previous month stats and then comparing them and then getting ready to fill
You're
all
a
this stuff
numbers
in,
guy,
finding
I
out what
know.
we're doing right and wrong.
I'm reading a book right now about numbers guys. You got to watch out for them.
What's it called?
Oh, it's a crazy book. It's called Anthem. It's kind of a one step beyond science. Well, it's not really Stephen King, although he uses his style, but it's kind of crazy. A lot of things going on, but anyhow, a lot of it is about numbers. Watch out for the guys with numbers. Anyhow.
Watch out for the finance department. Speaking of numbers, our door count for August was 1,493.
Wow.
And it was one of those kind of weird moments, because the last number I recorded for door counts was also 1,493 in like 2021.
Stephen King.
Play that number.
Numbers.
1493, huh? Okay.
Yeah,
1,493.
write it down, everybody.
I'm looking for a pen.
Our summer reading program stats are in. We had 59 people enrolled. They logged 530 official hours of summer reading. But I mean, most people read more. I mean, because you log what you need to get to the prizes, but these kids read more. Summer story times and SRP events had 329 total attendees.
Nice.
So what does that break down per event? The story times and the SRP events.
I would have to. Did I put how many events we had?
No.
Well, I can think of this on the top of my head, because we had 3 story times a week, 3 times 4, and then add 5, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 17. So around 329. That can't be right.
Well, that would be almost 20 per.
Well, yeah, that probably is about right.
Yeah. It's close to 20 per.
Or whatever 329 divided by 17 is.
Yeah.
I don't know where Rebecca's calculator is, and I'm at her desk.
No, that sounds good. It comes out to almost 20. as a numbers girl, not a numbers boy.
We're continuing to pour through the boxes of CDs. I don't even think we've made it through one box since the last trustee meeting because we've been doing other stuff. These
Right.
aren't last copies, so they're not high on the priority list, and we've got 6 more. So our little disc archive in those boxes is going to, I mean, we've got fodder for collection development for like a year. Other things. We're discontinuing the floating collection. I don't know if y'all remember, but back when I first started, we started sharing audiobooks and large print collections with a handful of other libraries in the area, so that if like one of our audiobooks got returned to Sutton, then it would just stay there until it got checked out and returned somewhere else. And then vice versa. So it kind of just shook up the collections, and we all patterned our standing orders, so we were ordering different stuff to kind of try to make it one bigger collection instead of a whole bunch of littler ones. But it's outlived its usefulness because no one is buying audiobooks anymore, and large print, everyone's kind of siloing into their own very individualistic strategies, because large print circulation is driven by like 3 people. And I mean, the collection development strategy when you've just got 3 people using a collection is to just buy what those 3 people want, and to not try to blank it out and, you know, spend a lot of money on things that aren't going to go.
Right.
And most of our seniors have transitioned to using iPads, Kindles. They're using Libby instead of our large print collection.
That's a good thing.
So we're not floating anymore, which will kind of make life easier. And, you know, we won't have spine labels that don't fit with ours on the shelves.
So the audio in your circulation is for CDs, mostly.
Yes. We circulate very, very, very few actual audiobooks on disc. I buy one periodically because we have a handful of patrons who use them. And, you know, every now and then there's something they're just not going to be able to get another way. But that's the only thing keeping the collection limping along at this point. Library assistant position is on fall town meeting. So that after fall town meeting, you know, approves it, and it's just going to be one of those procedural things. Then I'll be able to post a job for library assistant.
That would be great.
And how many hours is that? I thought you were doing it for not many hours a week, but then you were.
I'm shooting for 4.
4 hours a week.
I'm going to have to evaluate the personnel budget where it is once town meeting is over. But I'm thinking I'm going to be able to do 4.
Or is it much? We don't want to try to do more.
Well, I've got to work with the budget I have for this fiscal year, which doesn't actually include this position. It's just Matt pads it quite a bit. And so the opportunity is there, and just wanted to take it.
Okay.
So we're actually making this position work with the budget we already have approved.
Okay. All right. Got it.
We've signed up every entering middle school student for library cards, excepting 2 whose parents refused to allow it, which I've never seen before, but I think that's just the culture we live in now.
Well, have any idea why they refused it? Any clue?
I mean, I think reading, I don't know. But I mean, reading between the lines, it seemed like they just disapprove of libraries on principle because they're, you know.
Because there's all kinds of horrible things that go on.
Because libraries are many books.
There's books that have all kinds of scary things in them.
Libraries have become politicized, and some people just don't want their children to come into them anymore because we're villains.
Something.
I mean, I even shaved my beard into one of those evil goatees.
I love it.
Okay, so there wasn't a specific reason that you know. It was just
no. In other news, the Board of Selectmen has invited me to present an update on October 3rd. They just want to know what's going on at the library. They've had all the departments, or they are scheduling all of the departments to present to them before town meeting just to stay in
Oh,
the
that's
loop.
a good idea.
That's great. Yeah.
So
I think that's a
I'm
great
hoping
idea.
to present, like the building program, everything that we've gotten, collected in there, and, just talk up that things have been going great at the library. I mean, we don't have handicap accessibility, but when you take all of the capital items out of it, whenever you take the building out, I mean, the library is thriving right now, and as much as we possibly can. And I think that's a good message to present to them before asking them for more money.
Exactly. Absolutely. Use that
I
honey.
want to before this meeting happens. I want to, because I saw a data point earlier whenever I was taking a survey that compared library funding to total municipal funding, and I think that we're pretty significantly behind our peers, but I don't know for sure. I want to actually do that research, get those numbers crunched, and then have that ready to
Yeah.
present. Because if we are that far behind, other libraries in similar communities with similar population sizes and funding, then I think we should go for an equilibrium, because we do good work with what we get.
Yep. Absolutely.
And the last thing I will say with this super long director's report is that, with the exception of like the biographies, when you walk in the door and go to the left, the weeding is done. We've shifted a lot of things. And this summer we haven't weeded much. If we've weeded anything, it's been because it's damaged or because it's damaged. That's been the only reason. The juvenile and early readers things we've like condensed and just arranged better. We're now able to get the juvenile materials back in their room, like the early reader DVDs and the juvenile DVDs aren't underneath the large print anymore. And we've shifted all the adult stuff either up into the attic, or we've shifted discs into the boxes. And the boxes have just made a lot of space. I mean, like any DVD or CD that I would have weeded in the past just goes in there because it doesn't take up any space. And the books, we just haven't found a lot of candidates for weeding. And I think, if a book has circed in the last 2 years, I don't like that. I don't, that's when I start considering whether or not it should be, how to put this. I don't run any reports that show me anything that hasn't circulated, or that show, all of my reports exclude things that have circled in the last 2 years. Because if they've circled in the last 2 years, they're still in use. And we're just not catching a lot of stuff. So either our stuff is pinging out periodically, just enough not to end up dusty, or it actually does have appeal. So, I think it says something to the testament of our collection that we just don't have weeding candidates. And I know that that's kind of a problem for the Friends of the Oktoberfest book sale. But, we're trying to make up for it by soliciting donations.
Right.
And that's it.
For the Friends book sale? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. Because I don't think I've seen it. Is it been in your
Well, we've
newsletters?
got enough right now, I think, that I haven't done it lately, but mostly just patrons, because everyone who comes in or is like, I've got books, what do you want us to do with them, and this and that and the other. And,
Okay.
under normal circumstances, we would say maybe consider taking them to the donation bin. But now we don't. Or I should, normally we would say take them to someone else's donation bin. Where did I put the agenda? I lost it. There it is. Okay.
Okay. Are we ready? We good? Everybody good with the director's report?
I just have one question. Did Deb start the 1,000 books before kindergarten program?
The web page is live. She hasn't pushed it out yet. We're going to do that with our next newsletter.
Okay.
Be interested in that. Hopefully we'll get a lot of young readers, young families who want to stay involved with the process.
Yeah, we've got like some potential opportunities for programs this fall, because we are doing a young scientists program, and it's already up to 14 registrants for all
Sweet.
6 sessions. And the YMCP is going to fund that on top of Deb Hudgens. So that's fun. BVT has reached out with a potential robotics program that we will probably do if we can garner enough interest in it. And we're having the Poop Museum come out and give us a good presentation on poop for people.
Saw
Kids
that.
will love that.
Look forward to that.
What was the I probably ask this every time you bring it up. The YM blah blah that's funding the scientists thing. What does that
Danielle?
stand for? YM.
Well, it's the YMCA. There's the lead agency
Okay.
for
I thought he didn't say YM.
CP,
I thought he said some other.
CF.
It's what is it? It's YMC. It's part of the YMCA, and they call
Yeah,
it the
it's Coordinated Family
YMCP.
Community Engagement. So it's CFCE. See, it's a good thing I've been retired for 5 years and I'm forgetting those names, which is a good thing, I guess.
It's
Yes.
state money.
Oh,
It's state
Yeah,
grant
YMCA.
administered by the YMCA. It's not YMCA money.
Okay.
Right, it's state money that the YMCA is the lead agency. And they distribute money to all of the towns that they oversee. And so Douglas is using the money the way that they're like for young scientists now, I guess. Yeah.
And music and movement.
Oh, and you're still,
But they only pay for music and movement seasonally because they do it in the spring and in the summer. So, or in the spring and in the fall. So then in the other seasons, I have to pick it up with Carrick Fund money is what I've been paying for
Okay.
Deb Hudgens with.
all right. Sounds good.
And who's doing the poop thing?
The organization is actually called the Poop Museum. So
And they are the ones that YFCP. Okay. That's not gonna help me. YFCP. All right. So the poop is being done by the Poop Museum and is that they're paying for it? The whole thing?
that'll come out of our Friends programming budget.
Oh, okay.
Get ready, Ellie.
oh, remember, everything that lives poops, right? That's not.
Everybody, there's books, there's kids' books, toilet training books are talking about potty mouths, where it says one book is everybody poops and the other book is everybody pees. So
These are true.
yeah.
Okay.
These are true statements.
Yep. All right. Are you ready to move on? We talked out all the poop things. All right, under building projects, and the building program, okay? I had wanted to bring this up at the last meeting, but we started with a quorum and lost it about halfway through the meeting. And I thought it was important for everybody to be able to have input in this. So in July, the board voted to not pursue the grant. So after that vote, I had this thought of, okay, so now where are we as trustees? We can start at the very beginning. As trustees, do we even want to go forward with trying to make the library handicap accessible? Is this something, this is open to discussion. If we need to, we can take a vote on it, but do the trustees want to try to have the library handicap accessible or not?
So is there more in that question, Danielle? Like,
I'm starting at the beginning, okay?
okay,
First one is, do the trustees want to move forward with making the library handicap accessible? Yes or no? And I would like to hear from people as to what your feelings are on that.
We do a little poll so we're not influenced.
As a concept, absolutely.
How does one?
Yes, definitely. Whether it's the MBSLC grant or not, yes, in one way or another. I would
Absolutely,
move forward.
absolutely, yes. I've talked to a lot of elderly people in town and handicapped people, and that's one of the reasons they don't come to our library, because we don't have accessibility for them. And I think we definitely should pursue it.
Okay. Any others?
I concur.
I agree that, you know, a decent sized town needs to have a library that everybody can get into.
Right. Any others want to weigh in? Dana, Betty, haven't heard from you. No? Right.
I think it's an obvious answer to that question.
No, it's not. I really don't know. It's not obvious to me. It's not. We do want to move forward. So as a board, we want to move forward with making the library handicap accessible. Can I say that as a safe statement? Is that good?
Absolutely.
It's fun, it's fundamental for people to be able to get in there. It's just so, we know it's the number one priority. It has to be. There are, notwithstanding even the requirements that the state has or that every public building has. It's just sort of foundational.
Right.
And yes, I don't have an answer as to how, but I firmly believe that has to be a number of the highest, if not the highest priority for us.
All right, so I think we can safely say that yes, we want to move forward with getting funding somehow, because it's not going to happen without money. So we have to get funding. What does the board, how can the board of library trustees help to move forward with funding without the grant?
I think we have to, which I had asked Mary, but I guess she didn't see it. What what is our minimal requirement that we have to do to get handicapped accessible?
All right,
what is
okay,
it?
Okay. My question is for the board members, all of you people here, you're trustees and you're charged with taking care of the library. What do you think? Well, what do you feel that library trustees can do or should do to move this project forward?
I don't know I don't know what it costs, because when
No, I'm not.
I'm hearing,
okay, all right.
but
I'll
that's
tell
the
you.
whole
Okay,
point. Whether we need to go for a grant or whether what we're doing with our fundraising, it looks like it's over 200,000 so far now, and how much the town can come forth with it. So there's I've heard that it's going to be millions of dollars, and I just, that's why I want to know what's the minimum amount. I mean, how much does an elevator cost? How much does a bathroom cost? How much does it cost to move shelving around? And is all of this, need for structural architecture study or whatever it's called, what do these things cost? I'm not interested in having well, I don't want to get into that, but I just want to know what is the absolute essential stuff that we have to do so we know how much that costs.
Good, yeah.
I would like to know that too. And that was my point for this more of discussion with the trustees is there's a lot of stuff in the building program. I know it's for long term, but I guess I'm a little hesitant to go so big, and I still don't understand where we can go to make it bigger.
How about if we start little, start tiny?
Maybe, yeah. Get some momentum, a little pebble that becomes a.
Right. I'll give my, I do the donation jars, okay? So once a month or every so often, I go around to the 4 businesses that have them and I check to see if there's any change in the jars, and then I put it together and I put it in the donation box. So, one tiny suggestion would be when you're in one of these businesses, if you have some coins in your pocket, you can put them in the donation jar. That would be one tiny little. I think we're overwhelmed. I think we are overwhelmed by the magnitude of this issue, and we don't know where to turn. So I'm trying to bring it in to what we are as individuals, and what we as individuals and as a board, what we can do to promote raising funds.
I think one of the reasons they're overwhelmed is because being ADA compliant isn't simply a matter of saying we're going to raise money to put in an elevator. Unfortunately, it triggers everything else.
Exactly.
If you could do discrete things, like say, okay, we want to add an elevator to the back of the building, and that's going to cost X, and that's concrete. People could, I think, understand that. But as soon as you add, you have to move the shelving, you have to have space for meetings, and it becomes way too complicated. No, it's just simple. It's not simple. So we can start small, but what we're reaching for is simply not simple.
It's not. No, but I'm looking for ways that we can support as individuals.
Bid high at the auction.
Okay, let's just say, let's participate in the auction. If you haven't been able to donate anything, the donation time has passed, but certainly encouraged to look at it once it's open and bid on it.
Yeah.
Bid on things.
Could we start small and just put it out there that we need an elevator to start the handicap process, and say the elevator is going to cost X amount of dollars. This is our goal, and would the townspeople donate to reach our goal to get an elevator to start the process?
That's a good idea, Lee.
All right.
What if we broke it down
And we start small.
and broke it down into costs? All right. Here's what an elevator by itself would cost.
Right.
Here's what a handicap bathroom would cost. Those are the 2 major things.
And I think in reality, there's no real number for just putting an elevator in with nothing else, but we can estimate it, right? We can get an estimated number. And I like the idea that people are
I'm not sure if we can, though. I feel like we're kind of going backwards here. Like Dawn, I think when we were in our subcommittee, that's what we wanted. We wanted them to give us numbers. And the answer was, like you just said, there aren't.
Right.
Can't just get a number without having the whole project. And we just commissioned this whole report for Mary. So I don't think we need to go back to the beginning and think about just sticking an elevator on. I think we're a little beyond that, unless we want to just reject the whole thing, which it doesn't sound like we want to do that.
Well, we reject what whole thing, Kate?
The building program.
Yes,
So
I'm saying you already voted it down. You guys already voted to not pursue it? Now, you can
The-
rescind
Will
that
not pursue the grant.
The
Yes, not
grant.
to pursue the
Mhm.
grant, exactly.
But our point in doing the building program was to determine what our needs were so we could decide whether to go for the grant next round, or work through the town to get funding through the town. That was my understanding.
You're right, Kate.
Yeah.
That's exactly
Mhm.
what it is.
Well,
Now,
can
if we want to go through the town process, we have to deal with the whole stuff I've already, forgotten. We have to deal with the FCC and Capitol and all the town committees and,
But
you
again,
know,
again,
we have to put
you're
out a
making it
report
too
to get an
big.
estimate from a professional estimator or whatever they're called.
Mhm.
Right.
It's a process we've already sort of started down in my understanding.
You're
but
right.
let's say we raised money for the elevator specifically, or the elevator in the bathroom. Couldn't we still go for the grant next round? And that would prove that we're serious about this, and we're working on it on our own, but we still need that grant.
Well, we are working on it. We've raised a lot of money. We've
Right.
raised a lot of money.
Yeah, but we could put the goal out on the front of the library lawn and say, we need X amount of dollars for an elevator.
I think it's dangerous to do that because we don't know what that X amount of dollars is. I mean, we could say we're raising money for handicap accessibility, which is kind of what we are saying, but that's my opinion.
We'd
I
have,
don't know.
Well, you
we'd
know
have to
what?
hire
Go ahead. Go ahead, Betty.
we'd have to hire an architect to tell us where and how much room the elevator
Mhm.
would take before we could get an amount. But the problem is what Justin said, that if we could get the money by raising it and from the town somehow, just for an elevator. I'm sure we could get that money for an elevator and a bathroom. The problem I see is that Justin said if we do 30% of the assessed value, we have to do everything. So if we had to do everything, then we have to expand the stacks and make room for wheelchairs and all that. And that's going towards grant. That's going toward a lot more money. So to me, that's what's holding us up. If we get those things, does that put a, you need an architect, an ADA compliant architect to tell us, can we keep the front door open? How much parking we need? We'd have to do that to get an amount. But I'm afraid it will set off the thing that we have to do it all.
Well,
$90,200 is the ceiling on what we can spend on any project before we trigger the necessity of being fully ADA compliant.
90,000?
Yep, because it is 20% of the building's total assessed value. The assessed value is $451,000.
Oh, it went up. I thought it was 300. I thought it was 30%. Now you're saying it's
gone up.
20%?
Apparently. I just looked it
You
up.
said 30. Didn't you say 30 before? I don't know.
Yeah,
But
but we
Okay.
for
Yeah, you said
for
30.
90,000, we're not going to do much for 90,000. I don't think.
No, nothing.
And what's the assessed value again?
451.
451?
Disproportionate as exceeding 20% of the total cost of alterations. Wait, no, that's not right.
Well, now that you're talking
We
about
can
that,
figure it out, but it's either 20 or 30. But regardless, I don't think we're going to be able to put an elevator in for either 20 or 30% of $451,000, unless it was like a limited use lift that we just cut into the floor inside the children's room.
Yeah, because that was asking again, what is the weight distribution of using the attic areas? And so therefore you'd want to put the elevator all the way up to the attic areas so that you can access them. And what are we limited there as well? And this was an idea from not me, but another trustee. So, which I agree with. And then if you extend, if you have to bring out 10 feet for the elevator, I don't know how many feet you'd have to do it, make it go all the way across so that you would add some space, and that might take care of but I don't know all of this. This is stupid for us to keep on talking like this. I think
I understand
Yeah.
that, and I agree. My attempt at this is to flesh out the true feelings of the board, and are we united in moving forward with this in some way, and not to just sit here and say, okay, I'll see you next month. In the meantime, Justin, you take care of this and you take care of that, and we'll all be all set. I was hoping that trustees would say that, well, there's little things that we can do to promote it. Put things out on social media. I don't know.
Donate.
Donate. Yeah, just
talking about the library, a
participate. You know what?
positive light on a
Participate in the
day-to-day.
events.
Mhm.
Participate in the book sale, the plant sale, Oktoberfest. Be part of it.
What about what would it cost to hire an architect to give us a true figure on what it would cost to put the elevator in and the bathroom?
Lee, we got into this. Sounds like a good suggestion and an easier one than it should be, but Kate and I did like a little subcommittee. I don't even want to think of how long ago it was. It was over a year
I
ago.
know.
A couple
Try to
years.
Yeah.
to figure out some of that information, but then like you can't start working with an architect and then they can't bid on the project. And there were help me, Kate, there were some other issues
No.
related to
Right.
There's a process that you have to go through,
I think,
with the town. We can't just go off on our own and make it up as we go along.
But yeah, I don't think Lee's saying to make it up, right? He's saying like to get a real figure. And I don't know, maybe there's a way around it, but it seemed like we kept hitting brick walls when we try to work with somebody and try to get some information, try to get a real number. And then it would always be, well, we
I'd
can't
have
talk
to
about
look
that.
back at my notes
All
now.
right, I have something to go back. All right, let's go back to square one. And one thing that Mary said that we have to do right away. Does anybody remember that?
No.
Yeah, get the deed fixed, but I don't think
Yeah,
that's a
we
problem.
determine ownership.
Yeah.
And who's going to help? Is there any way that any of the board members here are able to help with that? Or again,
No,
we
that's got to be
say,
sorted out with Matt and town council.
yeah, let's let Justin take care of it. I'm hoping that as board members that we're able to help you, Justin, sometimes, but
If it's the thing with that is if we're not going for the grant, it doesn't matter, and it's not worth putting in a whole lot of effort into because that effort will cost money. If we are going for the grant, though, it's something that we need to get sorted out and figure out the ins and outs of now.
exactly.
Because
Is
their
that the-
donation letter that we have is not enough. It needs to be more current and more official.
Yeah, like, well, who are the heirs? Like if we stopped,
Right.
if the MBLC, if we applied for the grant and the design consultant comes in and says it makes a lot more sense to build at the old VFW site, so that's what we're going to go with. We don't really know what happens to this building.
I thought it was very clear. It must be a library. That's it.
But we don't know who those people are or how to go about that kind of property transfer now.
It was
since
voted at town.
They don't get it.
200
They
years
don't get
ago.
it back. It belongs to the town forever. They're out of it. It doesn't go back to the Fairfield
No.
family.
It does if it's not a library anymore.
The state's not going to give any grant money to a site where we can't prove that we own it.
Right.
basically.
We do own it. It was a
No,
town.
we can prove we own it.
Yeah,
We've got
in
a deed. It's
1903.
Well,
we can't do
that's the
that's still
difference between
valid.
1903 and 2023. You know, it's a town.
My
named
house was
road.
built to 1903 and I still own it.
It's not who owns it, it's who the heirs are.
Yeah, we don't know
With
that.
the town of Douglas is the heirs. It's nothing to do with the heirs. They're out of the picture now. They gave
No,
it to the
they're
town.
They're not out of the picture because the deed stipulates that it will revert back to the property of the family if the town never stops using it as a public library and reading room.
Well,
That
we're
is the
not
sole
going to
stipulated
stop
use.
using it as a library.
But what I'm saying, Betty, is if we come up to for the grant, the state's gonna wanna have proof that we have the rights to this building.
There's other.
It's already in the Office of Deeds. We have the right of the building. We've got the paperwork. Especially if we stay there and build on that one. If we go somewhere else, we still have to keep that as a library, but we still own it.
Well, I'm just reiterating what Mary's first point was that we have to determine.
Well, we thought it was determined all along. We never thought there was any question about it.
Well,
Because we have the original paperwork.
We have the paperwork. All of that is kosher. But if we ever, and the grant application is to build a new library. They don't care where it is. So if they decide to build somewhere else and not here, and we are not using this building anymore as a reading room and public library, the town is in violation of contract because that's what the deed stipulates we have to do with it.
I don't think it is stipulating that you have to be a public library reading room. It's saying that you have to be a library. You could use it as a storage area for all the documents that the town has.
It could be the genealogy library.
It's and not in honoring the original intention of the deed. So I mean, there's legal questions here we don't have the answer to.
But if we're not planning to not use it, why is it an issue?
Well, it's only an issue if we're applying for the grant. If we're applying for the grant, it's an issue because we have to be ready to leave the building if that's what is determined to be the best course of action.
Who decides?
That's
whoever's working with us in the design process. That's why we have to have second site consideration.
Yeah, the grant requires you to
in.
consider all sites in town. So
that's why it matters because they take the second site consideration seriously. So if you're opening up a second site and abandoning your first site, you've got to have a plan. And you've got to know what will happen.
Is this a new idea when we applied for the grant or received the grant, like 15, 20 years ago? That wasn't an issue, was it?
That was 20 years ago.
It's just that we were going to keep it open as a library, maybe a genealogy library, maybe a historical museum library, or people could do research on their heritage there. It would still be a library, but it wouldn't be the main library. Didn't want to go to an alternate.
Have a strong grant application, then we need to have that mapped out. If we apply for the grant, we would need to have that mapped out and funded and say, we have a strategy for this property in the event that we don't add on to it.
Right.
That's what they need.
We don't want to go anywhere else anyway, so they're making us go do a lot of work for something we don't want to do.
But they don't care what we want to do.
Even the survey said.
So should we revisit our probably ill-considered vote on abandoning the MPLC grant process? It feels like it was a little bit knee-jerk, which is my fault because I was leading that meeting. I think it was a little hasty. It may not be the best option, but maybe we should just leave it open for now and redo our vote.
I think before we go for the grant, we have to have more answers for them. So why don't we start at the bottom, the base, and get all the things we need before we go for the grant. Like, how much is the elevator going to cost? Do we need a company to come in and give us an estimate on what it would cost?
Now,
We don't need any of that for the grant. All we need for the grant is the building program and building conditions assessment, and then just the application paperwork filled out online.
Right. So that
But-
brings up, okay, let me just bring up the building condition. So that would be, and that costs money. And we need to be ready if we're going to move, if we do decide to rescind the vote and move forward with the grant application, that there will have to be a building, what is the name of it again?
Conditions
Structural
assessment.
The
study or
condition
something.
report. So the building condition. So we pay a good amount of money for someone to come in or a team to come in and go through everything of what is the condition of the building. For example, if part of our grant is that we're going to use the third floor, whether it be for storage or stacks or whatever, we have to be assured that the weight of the books is going to be held up by the ceiling and the structure of the building, and the same way coming down all of the floors. So that's what we're looking at. And then
Right.
what happens if it says this is where the second site comes in? If that report comes back saying there's no way you can expand, to this amount of square footage using all these 3 levels, now you have to have a second site where you're going to say we can go there and do it.
What if they come back and tell us the building is not structurally safe for an elevator? I mean, we have to start somewhere.
Exactly. Right.
Well, that's what Matt is concerned about, that they'll find out it's in bad condition, and for all we know, they won't even let us keep it open.
Right. I don't think it's that bad, Betty, but
I don't think it's that bad. We've put some spit and polish into it.
Yeah.
So the building conditions assessment that we have to pay for?
Yeah, the MBLC said estimate between $10,000 and $60,000 for that.
Oh, that's not bad.
I don't think they're going to say that we can't put Go ahead.
Good.
But I think regardless of what the building assessment says, we still have to have 2 locations.
That's for the grant.
Yes.
For the grant, if we were to do the grant.
The building condition also is for the grant. We're not going to do it if we're not going for the grant.
And I mean, the hope would be that once you have, because like if we receive the grant and, like the things that we would have to do are get this building conditions assessment done, have a plan for this building in case we abandon it, get the grant application, like the actual paperwork and stuff sorted out. And we would need an article on the spring town meeting to fund up to $150,000 of planning work. And then if we get it, the hope would be that once we have, an architect that's working with us to design the library up to their standards, they will see immediately, looking at, this building program, that people really want their library here and be willing to work, to massage that out. Because I mean, like there's never a perfect solution. There's never a perfect building. There's always something wrong with the building, with the property, with something. And, there's always, sacrifices you make to make the whole work. And, I'm hoping that the MBLC would be cognizant of those kinds of things. So that once we are at the table, in FY 2024, looking at this building program, we can say, honestly, this would be a waste for this town. We do not need it. And we can demonstrate that. So why can't we eliminate it and then still hope to come out with an MBLC approvable project? And, and we go through that process and come out with something that no one's happy with, then, well, we learned something, I guess. But if we come out of it with a project that, everyone is behind, then maybe we could get it through, funded through town meeting. And at that point, we would have had more time to fund it, or to fundraise. I mean, it's really just kind of a philosophical question, is, do we want to go through that process? Or do we want to, sit on this, keep fundraising, and then, once we have a certain amount in the till, then start our design process with just our local authorities without the NBLC involved. I mean, there's pros and cons.
Right.
I also think that we should talk to the town a little bit more. Go to the BFCC, the Building Facilities Construction Committee, or whatever it stands for, and see what they can help us along with. I know that the town has hired sort of an overview architect for things like what the fire station needs, and what the highway barn needs, and what the police station needs, and that we might be able to get them to help a little bit too, this architectural firm that the town already has employed, and is sort of kept for these sorts of things. So
Right.
and also the Capitol, go to Capitol, see what they have to say, but to because we are struggling of what we can do and what we can't do, we've
Right.
got to get more answers, I think.
I agree, Ellie.
But keep in mind that when you go for the grant, they don't give you all the money. You still they give you, I thought it used to be either 30% or 80%, I don't know, but you still have to go to your town and get upwards of $1 million to add to the grant. They don't pay for the whole thing. So you still have to get money from the town, even if we get the grant.
Yep. We have to get money from the town before we can get the grant. We've got to get the
Right.
$150,000 planning stuff approved.
What's the planning stuff approved? I don't get what that is. That that's like,
how there used to be a planning grant and then a construction grant.
Right.
Now it's all the same thing. So like this, if we apply in March 2024 and we get accepted, then we have to be ready to start the planning process, which they will fund, I think 45% of it. There's a formula that shifts depending on how wealthy your town is. And, then, like they work with us, the BFCC, and they kind of hold our hands through the planning process. And, but, the town is still paying for half.
so
Of their services,
$300,000 for this planning process thing. And
They ask for up to $150,000 approved, but it's not going to be near that. I mean, and they match up to that. But I mean, that's like the maximal. Like they asked for the towns to approve that much just in case they need it, but I don't know exactly how much it would be. Like if all the money is not spent in the planning process, then it just gets turned back to the town. If that makes.
What was Mary's notion on how much we would be asking for in this grant if we decided to do it again?
It's what we're eligible for.
I'm sorry, what?
Well, because I think you were saying it was $5 million or something like that, no matter if we were to do all of this. And so then if that's 45% that the state forks over, then the town's going to have to fork over, over $250,000, and I mean, $2,500,000. And, that's a lot to ask.
Where did
That's
you get
why
that
I think we have to
$1
talk
number?
to the town a lot. And
where did that $5 million number come from?
I thought it came from Justin. I thought he had told us that it was a $5 million project. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe
I don't remember $5 million, but
No. No, I don't think so.
well, I've been, feeling that it's an awful lot of money for the that we would be getting from the state. And what the town would have to fork over, that it would be like a $5 million thing.
Well, I mean, like, I would be
It's
surprised. I mean,
I've heard this somewhere,
this built to the letter, I mean, would definitely be over a $5 million project. I mean, I would imagine it would be closer to a 7 or an 8, but I mean, I don't really have anything to go on that base except for just seeing other projects.
My question to you, Justin, is if we want to get this ball rolling and we want to eventually prove that we need the grant and we need money from the town, where do we start? Do we start with the building assessment? Do we start with trying to raise money? Where do we start?
Well, that was kind of how I began the conversation, is how do the board members help to support it?
Right.
I think for now we have to decide whether or not we're going to actually move forward. My suggestion is, I mean, there's so many good ideas that are coming out and so many great questions. I have a question for Justin. All right. So if we put this off until the next meeting, where board members will come prepared after discussion to decide whether to move forward or not with the grant proposal, how much time will that give us to go to the next step of getting the building report and moving forward with what else we need? Is it March of 2024 that it's due?
Yeah, it is.
Right. So will that give us enough time? Do you have an idea, Justin? If we put this off, because I think people really need to, like Kate said, not do a knee jerk, but just really think, where are we? I've been down this road, and I know some of you have been down it many more times than I have. Where do we go with it? If we wait till next month
Where do we start?
to vote?
Yeah, where do we start? And where we start kind of just, it depends on what this board wants to do. Do y'all want me to apply for this grant in March of 2024? Or do we want to not do it, see how it goes, and plan on applying in 5 years
No.
based on information we've collected? Or do we want to just keep fundraising? And
pretty much what I said, Justin. Yeah. So
I mean, there's 3 paths, kind of, I think, unless someone can think of a 4th path.
No, that's
fine. An idea of what if we went for the grant, how much this thing is going to cost?
I have no freaking idea, Ellie.
So what are we applying for? It must be something that.
Okay.
But I mean, this is the same thing that Mike Fitzpatrick and Bill Cundiff were telling us whenever we tried to form that subcommittee with Kate and Don.
Right.
They said you can't start with a number, and
Right.
you're never going to be able to start with a number. You have to start with.
So we're applying in March if we went for this grant, what would we be applying for?
Well, that's why
we have to guiding us.
We have to be prepared with a number for the grant. And
No,
where
we
do
don't.
we start?
No, you don't.
No, they tell us.
Number. They
tell us for the number.
Yes.
I think an interesting question.
Go ahead,
if we apply for the grant, we have to have $150,000 approved by the town for planning. That's for the architect, the OPM, the person who's going to basically design this library with our input, with this, with town input, with everything else. And then what comes out of that, we have no idea what it's going to cost, because the estimate won't be done until the design is done.
Right. Okay.
And so we wouldn't know
let's-
that until 2025 or 2026.
Well, let's get the 150,000, and that would get the ball rolling, so we could get an estimate on what this is actually going to cost.
Lee,
no,
it's
you're
a
not.
question of applying for the grant or not applying for the grant. If we're applying for the grant, we're not worried about numbers. We're applying for however much money the state will give us. So my thought is, this is a very serious topic that I really appreciate everybody's feedback. I think we're having a really rich conversation on this. But I'm wondering if it's okay, like I asked Justin, because if we put off till October and we vote, we take our time and go over things, and maybe in the meantime get more information that will help us in making a educated decision, that if we do move forward, that we're going to be able to do the building condition report, and like Justin says, we have to get $150,000 up front to move forward with things. So
What costs 150,000? Is that the building condition report?
That's how much we have to have approved at Springtown meeting for the entire planning and design process of creating a blueprint for final building design.
So the building condition report would be separate from that, Ellie.
Yeah, that's something we have to pay for before we apply.
Yeah.
That's the between 10 and
So
$60,000.
that's another thing to consider.
It has to be submitted along with the building program.
I think an interesting thing to consider is which would cost the town more. Paying for ourselves, and we would, do the building condition if we wanted, but we would make it the size we wanted, and all the money we would have to pay, or our portion of this 150,000 and our portion of the grant, which is going to be a much more expensive building than the building we would put. Because last time they made it be 4 times the size. They would not let us have a building this size and add on an L. They're going to come and say what we need for census. So we could possibly end up spending more by getting the grant than if we did it ourselves. Kind of a complicated issue to figure out which would cost more, but one, we would get what they said we needed, and the other, we would get what we thought we needed, but we would pay it all ourselves.
Which may be less of a cost. Than,
Maybe.
Yeah.
But I bet it would be smaller.
Yeah, might be.
But if we pursue funding through the town, we would still have to go through,
Everything else.
working with an architect, getting an estimate. So we can't start with the number that way.
Exactly. We can't.
Well, they don't like your number to be old. So if you get a number before you get the money, then you go back the cost over, because that already happened. If there was a delay between the original drawings and then the funding of it from town, it's a little tricky on the timing.
Yeah, that's why the MBLC's condensed what used to be 2 grant rounds into just 1 to eliminate this whole 10-year wait list period for approved projects.
So where do we start?
Do we all feel like we have enough information to take this next month to think about these issues? Is everyone clear on? I'm not completely clear, that's for sure, on how this all works.
I agree with you, Kate. That's why I asked the question a few minutes ago of how is it okay? Do we have time so that we have a chance to ponder everything that went down today And in the next month, here's something else that the trustees can do. Go on the website, check out the grant,
Yeah.
ask questions, see what's there, and come up with some type of idea, for next month, so that we can either move forward with an approval to rescind and say, well, okay, now we're going to go forward with the grant application. We can say we're not going to go forward with the grant application. No matter what, we have the building program in hand. We'll have that, which is a great asset. But I'm going to say, in a matter of time, that we plan on this for next month's meeting and have a full quorum, and we'll be able to maybe have a little more education amongst ourselves as to what we're looking at. How's that?
Well, I'm thinking, should we have it on another time in 2 weeks or something like that, as opposed to 1 month? And also that would be, Mary could come to a meeting that isn't on the fourth Tuesday of the month. She seemed to say that, so she could be at the library or something like that with Justin, and so she wouldn't be blotted out, and that might help somewhat too.
I'm open for suggestions.
A special meeting?
I think that makes sense if we can manage it, just so we don't all get busy with our lives and then not take the time to look into everything.
What would it be?
Justin, can you put up with us?
Yeah, I'm just trying
In
to
2 more
think.
weeks.
It's
Tuesdays.
October 3rd would be it in 2 weeks.
So
Well,
October,
yeah, the problem is that,
Next week.
well, I don't know.
That's the BOS night.
yeah, I've got to present to the Board of Selectmen on October 3rd. On
That's
October
fine.
10th.
Can you talk to
is-
them about this, Justin? Can you mention this dilemma we have?
Yeah, that's kind of going to be my whole spiel.
Oh, good.
Well, why don't we have it on the 10th after you meet with them?
It's the 3rd, but yeah, I like that idea. Except that
Yeah.
I won't be
I
here.
don't know what time I'm going to be on their agenda.
No, you're
Not-
speaking of the
We could
third.
do stuff on Monday, Wednesday, Thursday as well.
Do we want to try for Thursday the 5th? We could.
I have a class that is like 3 nights a week, so don't go by me, but I can't do that night.
We definitely need everybody there who can be here.
Right.
So what about the 10th?
The 10th, I have the Creative Engines Writing Club at 6:30.
And that's also the
And Intrepid Readers is also at 6:30.
which is Betty and I are go do that.
So,
Your class.
Well, I mean, if we kept it within an hour.
Yeah.
What about the 11th or the 12th?
What days were your classes done?
11th, 12th?
I can't do the 11th or the 12th.
Okay.
I mean, would it need to be more than an hour and a half conversation? Because this would basically just be a one agenda
yes, it would be one agenda. We can
conversation.
try to limit it to an hour.
What about Friday the 13th?
Yeah.
Oh, great idea.
I can't do Friday 13th.
That would be unlucky.
Who knows?
And I'm going to
I'm
be king.
flexible.
I am too.
For the
I mean,
most part.
Tuesday the 10th works for me if that works.
If we do it early, would that work for you, Dawn?
Well, yeah, like at 4 or something.
Oh,
like
did you have a class on Tuesday, Dawn? I'm
I
sorry.
do. I actually the 10th is free.
I thought that was a Thursday that you had the class.
It's Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, but it changes sometimes just to keep us all on our toes. But yeah, technically
The
the
10th works for me.
Well, so if we did it at 4, would that
I
be
can do it earlier too. That's
I'm good.
at 4 o'clock then?
Is Dana here?
I
Dana's
think it looks like he
muted
left.
himself, yeah.
I think he may have
He's
left.
is he commenting on the date at all?
No, he
I think
hasn't.
he,
I think he
Somebody's
left.
gone. Somebody's left.
Yeah, Dana's not here.
All right, how about, so we're doing the 10th, October 10th at 4? Is that-
Sounds good.
All right,
we
wait
can,
a minute. Are we meeting at the library? Where are we meeting?
Oh, wait, what? Are we-
don't think we can because it's a real meeting, right?
right.
Mhm.
We can do
Is this an
Zoom.
in-person meeting or a virtual meeting?
Well,
Virtual.
oh, I was gonna say the town hall, but virtual.
Are we gonna see if Mary can come? If so,
Do we want to see if Mary can come, or is this more of an internal discussion?
I think this is internal.
yeah, I
Yeah,
think
it's
so.
too early.
We've heard,
But
she's
she-
given us
she's-
everything she can.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know, but was her only purpose to apply for this grant, or was she giving us options for the building?
I think it's the latter.
Yes, absolutely.
So she could come, she could advise us somewhat. Maybe I'm.
Did
I
we-
don't
what?
think, no, I think that's kind of overstepping her role.
Yeah, I feel like my questions were pushing the boundaries a little bit.
A little bit. She's given
Yeah.
us her information.
Yep.
Her
So it was
suggestions,
just
and we have
directed
to,
towards the state grant. It was her working as a consultant for us was nothing beyond the state grant, which I didn't think.
No,
that
I think it
was-
could
No,
be.
the
it could be
state
used for
grant
whatever
is
we want.
based on the professional standards of, you know, what a community should be able to expect out of their library building and their services. And so, like, her job was to compile, you know, what Douglas needed and wanted and project it 30 years into the future and say, this is the building you would need to do it. And that job is done. And we do have options, I think, on page 35, because I mean, we can say,
Yeah.
you know, reduce this by half. We can say, we don't need this. We want to combine this with that, and, you know, so on and so forth. But I mean, what she has given us here is like the minimum, or like, you know, like you can't pare it down anymore. You can't. I mean,
Should she
looking
not
at,
come to the meeting, or should she come to the meeting?
I don't think it would be useful.
For Mary to come?
To a meeting where we're deciding whether to not to apply for the grant. No, I don't know what she would really contribute to the conversation.
No, her report was required to do if we applied for the grant. We had to
Yes.
do hers? Okay.
Yes. It was a requirement, as is the building conditions assessment.
Right. Okay.
But we could also use the building program to inform us if we went through the town to give to an architect to.
Exactly, because I mean, this can be handed to an architect with any number of additions, subtractions, and edits based on need. And,
Well,
you
we
know,
would
we have
discuss that
finances.
also before we gave it to an architect. Like, we don't want this room, or they don't want that room. We would discuss that before we gave it to an architect.
And I think that, you know, like this is still valuable, even if we don't use it for anything, because we have something we can point at and say, you know, this is what the state says we need. This is what the ALA says we need. This is what, you know, the library profession, you know, says Douglas needs. So whatever we ask for, we're not asking for too much.
Right.
absolutely.
Good point.
The building program is sort of best practices. Like if this were
Yeah,
the best that we could afford or wanted to do. And it's what's required for the MIT grant.
but is there, or Justin, could you find out for me and anybody else who cares, what is the minimum requirements for us to do anything, you know.
The building.
I don't understand the question. The minimum what? The minimum
ADA?
Dollar amount.
Requirements of us. Do we, I think I asked it at some point, didn't I, on my chat stuff? Let me look at that.
Minimum for ADA or minimum for?
Well, I
MBL?
think I asked for the minimum steps that we have to take to provide
Proof.
to provide
Handicap
what we-
accessibility. That's
Yeah.
what we need. Say
So
it.
we
need
have to
handicap
do the
accessibility.
we have to do the building conditions report. We have to put in an elevator. We have to put in a bathroom that's handicapped accessible, unisex, not for all the staff, you know, and all the babies in the world and whatever it said in the report. But then
We need to know the order in which we should go. The steps we take in first, second, third, fourth to get the grant to get this done.
Okay, Lee, that's what
Yeah,
we're
but-
talking about.
yeah,
our
but are we
first-
doing the grant?
Can I,
or-
all right, I want to try to, because in terms of time, so the first step, Lee, is to decide whether or not we're going to go forward with applying for the state grant to provide us with handicap accessibility. And what we're going to do is we're going to ponder everything that we've talked about today. We've had a great conversation. We're going to look forward to, I guess, our next meeting, October 10th, right? We decided on at 4:00.
Yep.
Yes.
Was that the plan? And that we will come back on October 10th, more educated and more rested and ready to vote on whether or not we're going to move forward with the state grant. That's it. That's what we're doing right now. Okay? So we're done with that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this to rest. We did a great job today. I'd like to move forward to get through the rest of the agenda, and we'll reconvene on October 10th to do further discussion and voting.
Okay, so Danielle, can you send me what you want on the agenda so that I can?
For October 10th?
For October 10th, so because I'm not too clear on it myself, but you definitely are clear on it. So so that I can send it to.
I will do that, and maybe
Chris
Justin and I
Furno,
can,
and so we
yeah.
can.
yes.
If, we're going to apply for the grant, 1, 2, 3, 1 is conditioned as assessment, 2 is sort out the deed, and 3 is get ready to advocate for, a vote yes library at Springtown meeting for
Yeah.
planning. I mean, those will be the 1, 2, 3s if we're applying for the grant. If we're not
Absolutely.
applying for the grant, I don't exactly know.
Right, so we're
If-
gonna let
Does that
this
answer your
rest.
question, Lee?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're
We
gonna
can-
let this rest till October 10th. We're gonna go back to the agenda.
Okay.
And we're going to finish with what we have.
Okay.
So. We can move forward to. Are we good to go forward with grants? Do we have to go back to Joe?
I don't think so. The bushes are trimmed. Jack Dooner is still working on the Eagle Scout project. Fundraising is done, just has to build stuff. And I don't have the revised quote from Build Max back yet for the bricks in the basement.
Okay. All right, so capital campaign.
Capital campaign is not at 169 for 2058 because of the what I turned over today, and it is actually $212,250.58. But that'll be
Wow.
reported at the next meeting.
Sweet,
Amazing.
nice.
I don't know if Y'all want me to read
Can't
it?
put that in. I have to use these numbers. I can't put 212, 250 something or other.
I'm not going to revise this report because I'd have to revise all the other numbers as well to make it
Okay.
kosher
Right.
to today.
Okay, so I'll just ignore you for the minute.
Okay.
Right, so, where are we? Let's move forward.
All right. Grant. Mass Cultural Council grants have opened. Deb and I will both be submitting some applications. For long-range plan updates, I'm getting institutional memberships with MLS sorted out. Gail, Deb, and I will receive membership benefits once they receive payment from Town Hall.
What's MLS?
Massachusetts Library System.
Okay, I didn't know whether it was Masters in Library Science.
No, it's not. Never thought about that
Massachusetts
before.
Library Service. Okay.
System. No. This is wrong. MLA, Massachusetts Library Association, is what we're joining.
Oh.
The people who
I
do the
thought, yeah,
conferences.
isn't MLS a disease?
No!
Massachusetts Library System manages our delivery.
Okay.
MLA, MLS. It's
Okay.
7
Great.
o'clock.
Moving on.
Oktoberfest.
Yeah, moving on to Friends.
Okay, Oktoberfest, we're having a book sale, and on October 7th, when Oktoberfest happens, it's in. We usually do it. We start at 9, and we try to clean up by 3. So if any of the strong people in town, like Kate,
I will actually
and
be
Dana, if you could help knock
be
it
out of
down.
and
Yeah, that would be helpful to us.
I will not be in town that weekend.
Well, that's smart. I did that last year.
It's like Indigenous Peoples Weekend. It's kind of,
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, if Dana's still around, if you could come, I'll send you an email asking you to help.
Do we need books for the book sale?
That's what Justin said earlier. If you want to, I haven't done any of the sorting, so I don't know what it looks like right now. But and Justin might have a better idea of how many books are in the book sale. Do you think? A lot or a little?
I have a bunch
That
that
many.
I could donate, to give to the book sale.
Okay. Well, bring them to the library, and I'll let Caroline know. She does the sorting, so sooner than later.
Right. So we're all going to participate in that, right?
Yeah,
As
and
board
then
members, we're going to make our faces be known. Help out for a minute or two. Give Ellie a chance to go get her pierogies. I know she walks up the street to get her pierogies.
no, I can't do that anymore. So I'm going
Why?
across to the soup kitchen.
Oh,
Historical
damn.
Society. They don't. Sokol Hall doesn't do
Oh,
do it at all. So
Oh.
it's just too much. Too much stress on the membership and stuff of what.
right. So it's the same thing of only a few people are doing all the work and everybody's getting older and
Yeah.
Got it.
Once they started having to use their own electricity too, then they probably realized just how much use those crock pots run.
Yeah. On the auction has over 300 items in it this year.
Fantastic.
So, and it runs from October 9th to the 23rd. On October 23rd, we're having a gathering at the library, and we'd love it if trustees could come to that and show your support that way.
Exactly.
It would be nice. It's going to be from 4, it's a holiday, but it's going to be from 4 to 6. So, and there will be refreshments, which are, no, that's not a holiday. October 9th is the holiday.
Yeah.
So October, it's going to be 4 to 6 in the lobby area of the library. So you might see some patrons there, and we'd really like the trustees to to come and celebrate the auction.
That would be
And
great.
we could
Step
take a
away for a minute, but I will be right back.
we could take a
It was very
group
fun last year.
picture. We could take a group picture.
We could.
Whoa.
No, I don't know about that.
Posted on one of Justin's mailings that he does to all the patrons.
Yeah.
That would be nice. This is us.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
would be
Good
amazing,
idea.
actually.
All right, so moving on to other, the knife raffle has raised $3,400 so far. Another chance for board members to take a chance on this wonderful knife. I know I'm going to take a couple chances. I have a son-in-law who'd go crazy if I ever won that and gave it to him for Christmas.
I bought one.
I bought
I bought a bunch. I won't say how many.
Okay.
It was kind of a lot.
Ooh, oh boy.
Wow.
Also,
Okay,
as
I don't
also
know. I
a
might have
potential
to.
gift.
Well, thank you, trustees, because that money goes to the building fund. So
Yeah.
Exactly.
Any other old business? Moving right through while Justin is gone.
No.
Under new business, and this is, Justin put this on at the end. And he sent out an email earlier this month about his budget decision and discussion about putting in an increase that we need to ask for more money, since we should be getting more money. So
So this was in an email? I must have missed that one. I'll look for it.
yeah, I sent it out on September 12th.
Okay.
More money from where?
the town,
from the town.
Oh, okay, okay.
the annual budget for the library.
Absolutely.
The only thing I questioned, and I did mention it to Justin, was the 16,000 for programming. I thought it was a lot for, and it was all ready-made programs. So that's why it's so expensive. But I think it should sort of ramp up more gradually than $16,000 for every 2-week programming. So that's where his sentence down at the bottom. Should we just go
Just to be
not?
clear, I don't want to ask for this. I want to point at it as kind of like the same way I point at this and say, if we funded everything that people asked for in this building program operationally, this is what it would cost. And, as a kind of a way, again, of saying, no matter what we ask for, it's not too much. Because if we provided the service that, people in the survey asked for, then we would have to spend a lot of money. And I want the people to be aware of how much that would cost, too.
Right.
But
right.
there are other ways of doing programming besides hiring a $350 program ready, set, go, that you have to promote. And it takes a long time to plan all of that. It's not like 2 weeks before the event. It's you have to sort of impound them and sort of figure out what the community does want, as opposed to just saying, okay, we'll spend $16,000 doing that.
That's
So
a good point. So I need a full-timing programming librarian to sort that out.
No, you don't. You don't.
No, and it's good to let them know what the townspeople want, and this is what they want.
Yeah. I see no problem in, reiterating what you found out from the survey. I think that's a very good point. But
I want to make them aware of how much we self-censor, because a lot of other departments don't. The schools ask for everything they can possibly get. And then they wait for the town to say no.
Right.
And, other departments, they don't censor themselves the way we do. They say, this is what we need and this is what we want. And can you pay for it? And make them make the decision.
Right,
I
right.
agree. We do too much.
Yeah, and just as a heads up, the last selectmen's meeting, last Monday or Tuesday, selectmen's meeting was, they had like, I'd say 4 or so department heads reporting, and it was all for budget items. So I see, I mean, that's a good point of, bringing up what was in the survey and addressing that, and just, go along the same lines.
I'm definitely going to watch all the other department heads' presentations.
Yeah.
Right.
Not
I
because
recommend that
because I'm interested in what goes on around town.
the trustees should watch that one too. It was a pretty interesting.
Good point, Ellie.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's what trustees can do this month.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What's the
We
OS
should
meeting?
have a to-do list.
We get stars. Let's do a checklist and
We
complete
get
however
stickers or
many,
something.
Get a star.
I watched the selectmen.
You definitely
I
get
always
stars.
watch them.
You get 5 stars for that.
I found the
Yeah.
neatest things online to buy, and I bought some for home. And if they work out well, I'm going to buy some for work too. But it's like a checklist, but you write out your checklist and you put it inside of a contraption, and then it has sliders that you can slide on it to like turn it into a tactile experience of like checking
Ooh,
the things off.
better than an app.
Too much for me.
You put it on the wall with all the opening and closing procedures on it, and then you can just open it. Shut it, you're done.
All right, I kind of have a procedural question, I guess. So as we're pondering the next 2 weeks, how we want to move forward with the building program, if we have questions, so we can't talk to each other, right?
We're not.
You can talk to each other.
So what's the open meeting thing? So we can talk to each other as long as there's not a quorum and we're not deciding anything. Is that right?
I think pairs and triads are fine, but
Okay.
anything more than that, and it starts to get a little iffy.
Okay.
And we can say whatever we want to each other via email because that's public record anyway.
That's true.
But we can't do a group email where you say, "Oh, I want to see this." No, I want to see that.
No.
We
Right.
got called on the carpet a couple times with, I don't know if it was Cultural Council. I don't know.
No, it was BFCC because I was trying. We wanted to carpet both floors. It was going to be over the cost threshold that triggers them, so we cut it in half and we did one at a time. And that was kind of interpreted as trying to skirt the rules and get around involving another committee.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I guess what we can do, tell me if I'm wrong, Justin, is if we can direct question, here you go, Justin, one more thing for you to do. Direct questions to Justin in the next 2 weeks. And he can respond to all, or is that pushing the envelope?
Respond to anything I can.
All right.
I know we went over all the links to where the MBLC.
I will send out an email after the meeting with
Yeah, if you could send that
That'd
out,
be
Justin,
great.
that would be great.
with circulation statistics and the lid guides to
Link
the
to the
trust.
grant.
Yeah.
And that'll be good. So that we have homework. So now everybody's going to be busy. And then the sun's going to come out.
Already.
Hey, it's dark outside. Notice?
I know, huh?
Yep.
It was nice to see it for a couple hours.
Yes.
Okay. Are we good?
We're good.
All right. Are we ready? I need to see the agenda.
So it's, the
Face.
next meeting is October 10th.
All right.
Oh, yeah. October 10th at 4 p.m.
Okay.
All right. So, I will accept the motion to adjourn.
So move.
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Standing vote.